Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Can we take our seats, please? Okay, so we're going to start off with the next session, which is a panel discussion. Okay, and the topic of this discussion is: are we missing the forest from the trees? Is Lean Six Sigma only about the tools? Okay, and that's the focus. And I have a very knowledgeable set of panelists here with me, and I'll quickly introduce all of them. We have Mr. S.K. Sharma, who's the Senior Vice President, Operational Excellence at Bharti Airtel Limited. Mr. Sharma is a seasoned professional with over 30 years of experience in various industries, both in manufacturing and service. He's been with Bharti for 8 years now, okay, and that's where the actual process excellence journey began, with Mr. Sharma. And over this time, he's mentored over 2,000 Six Sigma projects and implemented Six Sigma in various companies. So thank you, Mr. Sharma, for coming on board. We have Mr. Rupesh Agarwal, who's the Procurement Operations Director of Value Engineering at Hindustan Unilever Limited. Mr. Agarwal is a Procurement Operations Director, and he's primarily responsible to lead the procurement and technology team, primarily looking at identifying, value engineering opportunities and in making sure those, get delivered. Okay, so that's his core focus. And over time, he's worked with many other companies like Asian Paints, Glaxo, Lupin, amongst others. Yeah. Thank you, Rupesh. Professor Srivastav, who's the Founder Director, Center of Excellence at Amity University. Professor Srivastav came to academics after a hefty 37 years, of a career with companies like Tata Steel, Tata Motors, Kelvinator, and Whirlpool. At Amity, besides academics, Professor Srivastav has been championing the quality journey of the university and the foundation, leading to ISO 9001, 14001, and 27000 certifications. So thank you, Professor Srivastav, for coming here. And lastly, we have Ms. Meeta Kalra, who's the Head of Quality at Hewlett-Packard, that's HP. Ms. Kalra is a Six Sigma Master Black Belt and having over 15 years of experience in delivering business improvements. She has successfully deployed Six Sigma business process management systems and focused on total customer experience by taking several large-scale projects from a customer-to-customer, end. And she has also worked with companies like Kohl Technologies and Bharti Airtel, prior to HP. So I'd like to thank all the panelists right at the start. So with that, let's begin this panel discussion. I guess so. The theme being Lean Six Sigma being all about the tools. For all practitioners, you talk to them and you'll hear things like FMEA, hypothesis testing. Oh, you didn't do a DOE in this project. It's not a project. Okay, so very often Lean Six Sigma, the connotation is that it's all about the tools. Okay, and you've not really done a project if it has not used tools. Okay, so with that high frame in mind, I'm gonna leave the floor open to the panelists to help us demystify this. Is Lean Six Sigma really all about the tools? So,
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Deepak, for the introduction. And so, in my view, yes, we are losing the forest, and primarily there are three reasons for that. The first and foremost being, people perceive Six Sigma as a statistical way of solving problems and not look at this as a business transformation methodology. Six Sigma in reality is a business transformation tool, which is driven by communication, networking, teamwork, taking people along, training, measurement, and most importantly, focus on customers. Secondly, when I talk to you about McDonald's, Maggie, Kentucky Fried Chicken, or various garment stores like Lifestyle, Shoppers stop Benetton selling ready-made garments. What I'm trying to point out is today's time is of instant gratification. People are not willing to wait. Nobody has time for 40 or 45 minutes for their order to come when they're waiting in a restaurant. No one wants to pay multiple visits to tailor for collecting the garment which they have given for stitching. So people want instant results now. So when we tell our stakeholders that I'm going to take 6 to 8 months to solve your problem, he said, no, thank you, madam. I'll do it in 2 months myself. So I'm come from a sales organization. So people are as good or as bad as their last quarter is. So they don't even know whether they're going to be there after 6 months or not. So they are not really willing to wait. Give us 6 to 8 months to solve the problem. So people want instant results. Number 2 is this. Thirdly, it is the black belts or practitioners themselves. So where does this name black belt come from? It is from martial art. You know, when the typical black belt, when they are taught skills, so they're told, you know, if you're attacked by 4 people, do this, and if somebody attacks from you here, then you do this, and somebody comes from front. But you don't use all the tools all the time, all the skills all the time. So when a black belt or a practitioner gets a project, he wants to use everything in it. When it is not required, probably you can solve the problem by using some simple tools. And you take a lot of time. And by the time you solve the problem ceases to exist. The people change. And today's world, companies cease to exist. There are mergers, acquisitions happening all the time. So we need to have a faster approach. So that is my view.
Thanks, Meeta. In this case, I would like to start slightly differently. When I started my day today, I started by brushing my teeth actually in the morning. And that's what we make. We are a consumer good company as Unilever. So the thing is basically, if you look at it from the consumer point of view, the person who is brushing the teeth in the morning, and are they really thinking about what do you do in the business? How do you deliver that product to them? They are mainly interested to know what benefit they get out of it in terms of freshness, white teeth, cleanliness, whatever they are looking for, and at what cost they are getting it. They're not worried, they're not concerned about how do you manufacture it and how do you deliver that actually to them. Whether you're wasting efforts, energies in inventory or processes or other things actually, they're not so much concerned about it actually. And that's where I think the consumer and customer perspective comes in. Actually, that's where the importance of those understanding which is required is there to understand what consumer really values actually and make sure that we are able to deliver and delight consumer on that part. And when I look back and see the type of company which I come from is Unilever, we are basically delivering these consumer experiences to consumers actually in their life of every day. And if we look at the size of the company is 50 billion euro. In that 50 billion euro, the majority of the P&L, 60 to 70% comes from the supplier side actually, because either we buy material or services to deliver these products and these consumer experiences to people every day in their life actually in that case. And for these costs which is there, imagine the cost which 60 to 70% I'm talking about, it comes from a supplier partners who are providing those services to us. So is there a value which we can unleash while working with these people who are providing this material or services to us and ultimately delivering that better value to the consumer so that either we can deliver higher benefit to them or at a lower cost actually. So whatever we can do to enhance that value for consumer, that's the intention which we can use these tools for actually. And that's what I would be looking for as a business point of view or as a consumer point of view. How can I enhance the consumer proposition out of it actually rather than looking at the tools and the techniques on its own actually in that case. So that's my take from the consumer point of view.
Friends, the subject matter, the theme for this particular panel discussion is, are we missing the forest for the trees? Are we missing the woods for the trees? Some of us may agree, some of us may not agree to this. I am one of those who has a strong opinion that here the transformation, over a period of time, the way customers' expectations have changed. Are we, as a management, changing fast enough? About a decade and a half back, when I was trained as a champion with Bill Ross in US, in Denver, as a champion Six Sigma, At that time, I was being trained along with guys from Allied Signal, Boeing, GE, and I did see a resistance for experimentations. Without the kind of experiments and partial factorial, no black belt project was to get completed. One of the essential requirements was that unless you use partial factorial, Minitab or SPSS, and build that as a part of the improvement that you want to do in the DMAIC process, you are unlikely to be considered for black belt certification. And the master black belts, for being certified as a master black belt, the essential requirement at that time was that you must display Six Sigma methodology in your day-to-day work habits. You must display the assimilation or internalization of those methodologies in your day-to-day business operations. Now, are we like that even today? Has the leadership group transformed itself? Is it translating what it wants to do to people down the line? We talked of Hoshin Plan, Hoshin Cannery. And the kind of conflicts that we face at the board level, it is something that we are going to discuss in the afternoon today, is I have seen personally guys who are driven by a balanced scorecard. Robert Kaplan personally radically opposed to Hoshin Kanri. He did not agree that he got inspired by Hoshin Kanri to really deploy what the boardroom wants down the line, so that each and every individual identifies his or her objectives, improves, and it contributes to management well-being. This was not to be. And hence, even today, there are a large number of organizations who have failed to align their day-to-day at the lower level with what is the end objective of the company. And, well, there are also companies who have successfully done it. So, in case we are to debate whether we are missing the woods for the trees, yes. Some of the companies are missing the woods for the trees. Those who are heavily focused towards experimentation and invitation for an event to occur, accelerate the process, and then observe the results in a closed circumstances. It is not possible nowadays with the economy growing around services. 60% of Indian GDP contributed by service. In US it is 82%. It is going to grow in India. And in services, is the experimentation very practical? At times it becomes difficult because the response time is delayed. The customer's response is delayed. I have known of companies who are very fast in getting customer response. In fact, every day they are conducting pin code wise customer surveys, pin code wise, electronic, and they are able to reward and remunerate the partners based on the customer satisfaction delivered, whether or not they are able to deliver the company's brand to the customer and expectations, while their research and development is working on the latent need of the customer. That is how some companies have grown. But the question is, very large number of companies are missing out on focusing on certain tools that are to be used and missing the end objective of companies' cultural transformation and growth.
Very good afternoon to you. If I go back to my GE days, implementing Six Sigma was pretty easy. You show some good tools, you apply DOE, and you are a certified black belt, and you have done a very good job. But when I came to Airtel 10 years ago, this is a very good learning experience, and it's a good challenge for me. Coming back from GE, coming from GE and then coming to Airtel, it was a big change in my implementation of Six Sigma. I remember company hired me, but they were not willing to spend time on this. So what I did, I started immediately like we did in G. We trained black belts, we started training green belts, doing a lot of projects. And the saving used to be around, in the first year the saving was around 100 crores, so which is a good saving, but the management did not appreciate this. And after 1 year, when we were sitting together, we found, because Airtel was operating out of 15 locations at that point in time. So after 1 year, we found that there is a huge variation between all the units, because we did 100 projects in different locations, and every project outcome was different. So we found that solution, what we implemented in Delhi was different, and the solution what we implemented in KK, Bangalore, was different. So in fact, we were increasing the variation between the circles. So instead of reducing variation and improving the overall performance of the business, we were in fact increasing the variation. So it didn't work at all. So the tools and, the G kind of approach did not work in Airtel. So what we did, we thought, since Airtel was a new company at that point in time, and there were no processes around. So everybody who was doing project, the improvement was not coming to the process at all. So we decided that we should start some kind of process standardization across all the 15 locations. So that time we started a project called Bharatiyam, and we made processes, standard processes across the company. And then whenever we did project, the improvement would come to the project, to the process document. And every other location would use that improvement and replicate that improvement. So in fact, after this, the variation started coming down. But this also didn't give much value to the organization. The variation reduction was happening, but there was not much value because we were not able to engage a lot of guys in this. So we thought that Lean would be a good initiative for this kind of organization. And then we started Lean across the organization. It definitely gave a lot of huge benefits to the organization, because everybody was involved in the Lean initiative. Anybody who is working on any process, any workstation, he was told how to apply the Lean tools. And even if he is able to save, I would say 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs rupees, the total saving to the company was huge. And the engagement and motivation of the people was again very high. After that, we found that Airtel went from 15 locations to 23 locations after that, and we found that there is some more opportunity left of applying improvement process over there. So instead of using Lean or Six Sigma, what we did, we mapped out the whole process, which is the value stream, right from the customer value stream, starting with the customer's research. The first point of the research, customer will decide whether he wants to buy Airtel or Voda. So he'll get into some kind of research. So once he gets into the research, what are his expectations? So all the 9 customer touch point, we started picking up the voice of the customer, and through our processes, we started implementing the improvement on that voice of the customer. So this has been accepted very well, because we are not using many tools. Only on the touch points we are capturing the voice of the customer by going to the call centers, or by going to the market and talking to the retailers, distributors, and even customers also. So we pick up the voice of the customers on 9 touch points and implement the improvements on 9 touch points. So we have made it so simple. So there is no tool, nothing. And for taking care of that voice of the customer, we might use DOE, or we might use a very simple direct action also. So we may not use tool, or we may use some tools wherever it is required. So tool is really not part of, and then if you allow me, Deepak, can I use 1 or 2 slides? Last year, 2 years ago, we were sitting, when we were planning our year 2 years ago, I was also under the same stress, whether the company would like Six Sigma initiative or whether they would not like this initiative. So what I did, I called up the leadership team and I did a small dipstick survey with them and asked them a question that what do you understand from operational excellence? So this was the question I asked them, and you won't believe that somebody said that you guys do some projects, somebody said that you are into some kind of audits, and somebody said that you do some process improvement projects. And then some people said that you do some strategic projects also. So there was complete misalignment at the leadership level. So if you have that kind of misalignment at the leadership level, you will not be able to improve processes or apply Lean or Six Sigma in the organization. So, that was the opportunity. I thought that if there is this kind of misalignment, we can definitely do something about bringing in some alignment in the leadership team. So what we did, I created a slide, which is this slide. This is a 2-year-old slide. If you look at any organization, whether it's a manufacturing organization or it's a service organization, there would be three processes: concept to market, where you design your product and processes. The second one is the order to cash, which is when you manufacture and deliver the products to the customer. And the third one is when customer has an issue, he will call up the call center or he'll come back to the company for resolving, for getting his problem resolved. We in fact, I told the leadership team that these are the three processes, and these three processes are very well handled by the operations guys. The excellence part is only that we can bring in excellence to the operations, which is already happening in the business. But the difference is the operation would be happening only, they would be delivering only 80% of the things. If you look at the pipe, the business is basically like a pipe. If you give 100 inputs, the output would be 70% if you only do the operations. But if you try to use excellence, you can, there is a possibility that this output or yield can go to 100. And if the operation is giving 70% yield, the 30% is basically stuck somewhere in the pipe. And that is stuck either in terms of variation, or it will be stuck in terms of waste. And the variation opportunity is not only on the productivity or cost parameters. The variation opportunity is there in the sales and in the customer side also. So wherever, whether it, on revenue side or cost side, you have a lot of variation opportunities. The second element element was basically the waste which we found. The third one is that operations guys normally get into temporary fixes. They always do some transaction corrections. They will never get into the process corrections. So this is also an opportunity we explain to them. The third one is defects. Defects is no-brainer, everybody knows. And the fourth one is the improper RCA. When operations guys do some kind of RCA, it's basically this kind of RCA. They never use any kind of tool, or there is no disciplined approach for the RCA. They will never get into the root cause. They will have some solution of the hat and implement that solution. So these are few opportunities. When I explained to them, they understood what is excellence. And then we started working on all these opportunities and improving the excellence in the business. Most of these wastages are basically because of two factors, which Japanese are expert on that. And they say that if there is no pull from the customer side, you will have a lot of waste in the system. So example on that is telecom industry. Even if the customer doesn't want any value-added service, we just push it to the customers. In spite the customer doesn't want it, but we will push it. So we are pushing a lot of things where there is no demand from the customer side. So it will create a lot of waste. And because of this, we used to have a lot of calls coming in the call center. 80% customers used to churn, and everything was a waste. So if the pull from the customer side is not there, there would be a lot of waste. And if you're pushing more than the pull, there would be a lot of waste. So create the pull. What we did, if you look at this equation, the real customer value is utility into access divided by cost and hassle. the value to the customer will be coming out of the best, good products, which is utility. Value to the customer would be by giving better access to the customer, because customer would expect everything at his doorstep. So you need to deliver what he expects when he expects. And the value to the customer can be increased by reducing the cost, which is the waste reduction and other thing. The value to the customer can be increased by reducing the hassles for the customer. So these are the 4 elements we started working on so that we could increase the pull for the customer. So if you work on these 4 elements, the pull for the customer would definitely go high, and you will reduce a lot of slugs in your pipe and increase the yield. And as a process function or operational excellence function, we started working on the bottom 3 elements. We give a lot of value to the business in the product design and process. We give a lot of value to the business in the improvement of the process. And now we have some kind of governance mechanism also, which is a complete end-to-end process thing we are working on. So this gives a lot of value to the customer and the business. I'll take only 2 more minutes. This is the latest what we have started working in Airtel. What I was talking about, the customer lifecycle management. In this, we have 9 customer touch points, which is research. Customer will do some kind of research. Customer will buy your product, and after buying the product, he will get into activation of the product or provisioning. This is Airtel specific. But every industry would have 9 steps. And the customer will use the product. He'll be billed and pay for that. Then in case of any problem, he will come for the service recovery, will collect the money, and the last one is the retention. In case he has some problem, either he'll churn or we'll retain him. So on all these touch points, we try to collect the voice of the customer. And we start working, we collect the voice of the customer and then improve processes on all the pain areas of the customer. And after prioritization, we come out with some programs. So this is, again, a complete business value, because no leader would like to listen a bad voice of the customer from the market. So whenever we have any bad voice of the customer and we share it with the leadership team, they always appreciate and ask us to improve all those voices. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Just a couple of more questions, and I'm going to request the panelists to try and be as brief as possible, just for the sake of time. So what's coming out here is that there does seem to be that organizations are missing the forest from the trees. Okay. Now, do you think that this is really leading to a parallel organization? So Lean Six Sigma is pretty much a parallel organization within, a company. So they seem to have their own systems, infrastructure, network, and it's not really aligned with what, the business really is expecting. So do you think that's really happening? Yeah.
Well, yes, it was happening. Initially, we used to have quality organization who would be having black belts and green belts, who will be hired by different functions. They'll go and work with them and solve their problems. And then the projects used to have longer gestation periods, because these black belts and green belts will, take a lot of time to onboard themselves on the processes. But nowadays, what we are doing is we have operationalized quality. We train people from the functions. So then the TAT is reduced because there's no learning. People know what data is available. They already know the process, and they can start working on it. And the priority of the organization, of the function head or the sponsor, and the person who's working on the project is same. They are working for the key objectives. So this is how we have. But initially, when we were working as 2 different organizations, it was running as a parallel organization. When the Six Sigma organization was focusing on the rigor and certification, whilst the business was looking at the objectives and the results and sustenance of results.
Thanks, Smita. I think she covered about this parallel organization, and I would say basically how it can be integrated. I think I'll try to talk about the probably solution bit actually in that case. So the thing is, I was talking about this major spend item going from the suppliers in that case, and how we can partner with them. So there's one approach which we are taking in Unilever, and probably could be good to share here, is a partner to win approach, where we work with our major supplier partner, in that case in the area of innovation, sustainability, value improvement together, capacity planning and delivery together, so that when we are growing, we grow together along with the supplier. And in that case, basically, we are ready to share all the knowledge, what is needed to deliver together, and also basically work together in that case to whether it's a Lean Six Sigma, because we are doing some projects together with the supplier, because sometimes their size is small, they don't have access to the best technology in this space. So we work with them together in that case to deliver that actually. So it's, instead of working as a silo separate organization, we are working together with the suppliers and together as a partner with them actually in that case.
We all have heard of Poor Richard, Benjamin Franklin. A penny saved is a penny earned. Now, we do realize that in case we make Lean and Six Sigma work together, the total becomes more than the summation of two. This is a very great example of how two elements can join together to give you a result much bigger than the addition of those two. And this is what one of the duties of the young Six Sigma professionals, quality professionals, to appraise the senior leadership group. And those who from senior leadership group are here may kindly go back with the message that you have a phantom capacity hidden in your company. And the phantom will rise in case we are able to make both Six Sigma and Lean work together, so that your hidden capacity is freed up to earn you better business and better growth.
You know, this is a very good question, and I remember 10 years ago we used to face this problem, that this function used to be a separate silos, and nobody was looking at this function at all. So, you know, now we have aligned ourselves with the front line. You know, because the best value in the organization is given by the front line. Now this function is aligned with the front line. We go to the market, we pick up the voice of the customer, we talk to the frontline guys, and whatever support they need from the back end, we provide that support to them. And this function has become the most value-adding function in the organization now. It's only because of the front line.
Okay. My last question to the panelists. If we were really, I mean, you know, it is given that there are companies who are missing, are still probably more tool-focused. What advice would you have at two levels? One is at a practitioner level. You know, what could I do differently to help break some of the myth or this perception? And more at I would say at a leadership level or an organizational level. Yeah. What could I do that we are able to cash in on, you know, the trees, on the forest, and not really just, you know, get more into the nitty-gritty really of tools. Yeah.
For any initiative to be successful, you need three things. One is management buy-in. So you need to keep all the stakeholders involved, and they need to be informed, and they need to understand what is the value coming out of this initiative. Secondly is employee engagement. You need to take people together. You cannot have one practitioner solving the problem, and when he goes back, it comes back to his original state. And thirdly is communication. So you need to have a defined success criteria. You need to tell people what is happening. You need to keep everyone informed. So this is primarily for both the leadership as well as the practitioners. If they do these three things, I think they can be successful. I gave you 2 extra minutes.
So I think Meeta covered about leadership bit actually quite a bit. I would say basically a bit of practitioner side. I think definitely they need to know their tools for sure. Actually, that is must. But beyond knowing the tools, they need to understand the business requirement and the business environment in which we are working in actually in that case, because that helps to identify the right tools to use, to understand how do we derive value out of it actually. Because the thing is, you can use tools, but ultimately if you can deliver higher value by understanding the business environment and business requirement we have, that will help a lot actually in that case, taking the agenda forward.
in case we could let the Six Sigma improvement methodology change our work culture, there is no doubt whatsoever that it will result in it will transform in great results. And for some of you, I'll request you to kindly go through the case of Southwest Airlines, how the leadership group identified that as long as we are in the air, we make money, otherwise we lose money. And that was one problem defined, and then they did not use any, that time known Six Sigma tools to improve. But they have been world's best for, most profitable for almost 30 years, 3 decades. That's a rare distinction. And same thing, under the name of Six Sigma, Lean Six Sigma, Bank of America did. So these couple of cases where it helped in changing, transformed the work culture, no tools, known use of tools for each improvement, but if there is a defined way, the way you improve, you identify your problems and improve, you are likely to come out with great results. So it is not only question of use of tools, but work culture.
My 2 simple tips. One is never complicate the things. You know, especially in a service kind of industry, if you go to the leadership team, they would always say, if you want to complicate anything, give it to the operational excellence or Six Sigma guys. They will complicate the things. The second is that always find value in the front line. You know, find out where is the front line of your organization and align yourself with the front line and find out what are the pains or pleasures you can give to the front line. And the things would be very simple. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. So if I were to look to just conclude what's come out from the discussion, we're saying that there is definitely this, there are organizations that are more tool focused. We need to find a way that we are able to overcome this myopia of sorts, right? And we heard some cases here about how that's already happening, okay? Whether we take the HUL case of Partner to Win or HP, where Meeta talked about how there is greater integration that's really occurring. So we are seeing the movement even in the Airtel example, right? So there are this movement has started, and we've also seen that there are further ways in which we can create, greater synergy, right? So whether it's about simplification, right? We don't want to, you have a problem, you want to find the shortest route to solve that problem, right? Time is not always a luxury that we can afford, right? You want to keep the business end requirement in mind, okay? While you're trying to either seek improvement opportunities or as you get into, any particular project really, right? And that hopefully, with these thoughts, I'm sure we'll be able to break this perception about Lean Six Sigma being all about the tool and, it's not really worthwhile or as worthwhile as we would like it to be from a business perspective. Yeah. So on that note, we're going to close this discussion. If anybody from the audience has any questions, I'm going to request you to catch the panelists at lunch. Yeah? Okay? So on that note, thank you very much to all. Yeah? Thank you. Thank you.